good morning, and happy Wednesday, everybody. It's Diane Covington calling from Northern California. So how many of you have heard the quote, imperfect action is better than perfect procrastination? I'll say it again, imperfect action is better than perfect procrastination. What does that mean? It's better to do something right now today than to wait until you can do it perfectly, because that may never happen. So something is better than nothing, right? It would be like if your kid said, well, I'm going to clean my room when I learn how to fold things, everything according to Marie Kondo, or I'm going to wait. It's like, no, just get your clothes off the floor. Like, imperfect action. Does that make sense? But I want you to write down two other quotes. One is, inactivity breeds fear. What does that mean? If it's been a month, 2 months, 6 months since you held a facial or a skincare class, kind of like, ooh, like, what do I pack? And I totally forgot what I need to do. I haven't done one in 2 months. And whatever. Okay, so inactivity breeds fear. So what's the opposite of that is action builds confidence. Okay, so let's say you haven't done a face or a skincare class in 90 days, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what? It's better to go and do that face, do the neighbor, even if you forget the washcloth, even if you forget to squirt in the eye cream, whatever it is, realize that it's super, super important to get into action. All right, so with that said, I'm going to just take 5 minutes to talk to you about selling to businesses. Now, when I first heard the idea of selling to businesses, and I'll tell you why this is important now, it's almost mid-October. And businesses right now are looking for deals. They're on Amazon Prime today. So if you want to get any of their dollars, you better get it now before it's spent. Most businesses decide what they're doing for their staff in October. They do not wait until November, December. Never, almost never. Whether it be a dentist, no matter who it is. So I know when I first heard the concept, my thought was, well, getting into a big company like Comcast that has like thousands of employees or whatever, or one of the big hospitals. And then I thought, Diane, just think a little bit closer to home, like somebody who knows me, who I could relate to, because once you get a few yeses, what happens? It builds your confidence. So 2 years ago, I decided that I know a lot of businesses that I either, eat at or go to, or they know me or whatever, like being involved in the community or whatever. So think about, first of all, who do you know personally? Who's a personal girlfriend or maybe a couple that you go occasionally on a dinner date with or whatever? Where does he work and where does she work? Let's say she's a dentist. Does she have a dental staff? Does she have? Of course she does. If she's a dentist, she probably has people that clean teeth, people who answer the phones, all of that. And I'm going to give you a tip at the end, so stay on for just a few more minutes. If he is an engineer, maybe he runs the office, maybe he doesn't, but you can ask, who is in charge of gift giving at your company, especially for the holidays? And he might say, I don't know, probably my boss. And you can say, great, what's your boss's name and number? Okay? But I also thinking about customers. So I'm thinking of my customer base. I have a customer who's a veterinarian. She works at a vet hospital. She has a few people on her staff, all right? I also have a customer of mine who's a principal of an elementary school, thinking, oh, sweet, I'm going to reach out to her. I have 2 other customers, at least 2 that I know of, that are actual teachers at elementary schools. I think, and then, I have a third one that's a high school teacher. So who are the principals of those schools that I could talk to about either pampering the staff or staff gifts? I also know a gentleman who owns a restaurant, a local Italian restaurant. What about all his cooks and servers? I know another person. Do you kind of get where I'm going with this? I know another person who's a contractor. He has a woman do his payroll. He has another person do his scheduling. And then he has connections with realtors. Well, realtors are great. They're a gold mine because realtors are going to buy for anyone on their staff, right? But then they also do appreciation gifts. So I have 2 local realtors that sell a lot of houses, and they last year bought, she said, I need 9 gifts, 2 for my stagers, 1 for the roof inspector, 1 for the electrical inspection. Because when these realtors call, they usually are saying things like, okay, I've got 24 hours, I need to get this inspection done. Maybe it's an HVAC person, maybe it's and if these are guys, that's totally fine. You can wrap the cleanser and the men's moisturizer together as a gift. You could wrap the sunscreen. So here's the stat I'm going to close with. They said that over 67%, this is a brand new recent survey that was put out, 67% of people are feeling unconnected, lonely, and like their place of work is just a place to make a living. They don't feel like they are part of a family or a team. It's almost like they feel like they don't matter, is what it boiled down to. So how does that impact us? Well, does the business owner know that? And you can say, when they say, because it literally happened to me 2 days ago when I reached out to a person that I know, he says, well, we're going to give bonuses. I know money's tight with a lot of people, so we're giving bonuses. I said, bonuses are a great gesture. I think that's amazing. Your employees are going to be thrilled. But you know what what the research shows? This is exactly what I said to the man. I said, research shows that a small personal item with that bonus shows that they matter, that you care, that you want them to be part of like a family, and that they're important to you. I said, it doesn't have to be an expensive thing. It just has to be something. And he goes, never thought of that. He said, what do you have in mind? I said, well, tell me about your staff. Male, female, both. He says, 1 male, 5 females. I said, okay. And I said, what's your budget? And he goes, I don't know, maybe $25. And I said, okay. What I would give the women is blah, blah, blah. What I would give the man is blah, blah, blah. And I said, and I gave him a price. I said, that would be for the women, that would be, $25, that is including tax and wrap. And he's like, okay. He goes, great. So I'll take 5 for the women and 1 for the men. It was that easy. Sight unseen. He just trusted me, knows me, sort of knows me. But again, ask your customers, where do you work? Where does your husband work? Another great place is there are a couple large daycare facilities in my town. And the daycare facility, I go in there. First, I talk to the owner or the manager, ideally the owner, and ask them, what are they doing to appreciate their staff? If they want me to come in and do spa makeovers, skincare, charcoal masks on all the people, I will do that for free because you're going to get sales and everything out of it. So you've got to look beyond the dollar, right? But what are they doing for an appreciation? The perfect gift for them is mint bliss with the free socks. It's inexpensive. Every time they wear the socks, they'll think of them. It's something that's pampering. Their feet and legs have to be exhausted if they work in a daycare, right? So I'm just saying what I want you to do right now is I want you to write down 5 people that you know that work in a business. They could be current customers of yours. They could be teachers. They could be nurses. They could own a restaurant. They could work at a restaurant. They could own a catering company. Catering companies hire servers when they get a big job. So if you're a catering company, you might have 4 or 5 servers that you use. Do they want to appreciate them? Does that make sense? So I'm going to tell you right now, I want you guys, like within 30 minutes of you hearing this message, I want you to write down 5 businesses, and I want you to contact at least 3 of them today. Even if you get voicemails, if you're wondering, well, Diane, what do I say? You can say something like, let's say it's my client who's a principal of a school. Her name is Jennifer. I'll say, hey, Jennifer, it's Diane with Mary Kay, because I'm sure I'll get her voicemail. Say, hey, you know what I was just thinking? I was reading a statistic that said that 66% of people who are employed look at their work as just a way to make money. They don't feel connected. And so I was wondering what you were planning on doing for staff gifts, because I have things that will show caring and I'll do my words a little better than I'm doing with you right now. And I'd love 5 minutes of your time to share with you some options. You can even say, do you feel like with you wanting to make your employees feel appreciated, that it would be worth 5 minutes of your time on Zoom to share some ideas with you? It doesn't hurt to look. And so they kind of go, yeah, I'll give you 5 minutes on Zoom. Or you could say, I just need a 10-minute appointment with you on Zoom. And get them on Zoom. I think Zoom's easier than actually meeting with them because then you don't get interrupted. But, whatever you want to do, they might also find it easier to find that time with you on Zoom. So get into action. I know you can do it, and have a blessed day.